Hi, friends. How are we? We're on the other side of the blue full moon. And typically, when it comes to moon phases, I always like to focus more on the prep because every month leading up to a particular moon phase, there's this invitation, this calling, this beautiful energy calling you in as the moon moves into her next phase. However, what's unique about this blue moon, and a blue moon is essentially when two moons of the same phase occur within one calendar month. It's rare, so it happens once in a blue moon. Typically, we focus on it when there's two new moons in a month or two full moons in a month. So in this case, May of 2026, we had two full moons within the month. And this blue moon, though, in particular, and why I'm focusing more on the trajectory that it's setting as opposed to everything that needed to happen leading up to it, because I'm just going to get right into it. This blue moon was really yet again another piece in this cosmic puzzle that is 2026 leading into 2027, wrapping up in 2028. And it's really about the momentum and the energetics that come after this blue moon more so than anything you needed to do to prepare for it. It was one of those moons where you just had to be in it and witness it and release what felt necessary within those moments. And more than anything, it was about and continues to be about releasing old programming, particularly old programming, old conditioning that took you away from the magic that is this life, took you away from actually recognizing and realizing what's possible. Because here's the thing, everything is possible. We know that. We know that from our own past experience of things working out. We know that from our mentors and idols and people doing really unique, fascinating things in the world. Why do they get to do it and you can't? No, everybody gets to do it. The only difference is someone believed it was possible. Someone had the conditioning to know this is available to them. And so what this blue moon did for us was reiterate, this is possible for you. Everything is available. But you have to rally around it and you have to focus on it and stop giving your attention to all the things that didn't work, to all the reasons why it's not coming together. The moments that you're just sitting around waiting, hoping, which we know is a huge disservice from the spiritual community, if you will, that has created a whole mess of us thinking that if we just do things a certain way, if we follow this diet protocol, then everything will just come together. But really what the essence of, let's say, manifestation or things happening is, it's a combination of rest and release and also advocating and rallying around what you know to be true. That's the essence of this. Spirituality just means to be in spirit. To be in spirit is to be with yourself. To be with yourself is to come home with the understanding of why you're here. And the greatest mystery of our life is that. And at the same time, we love a good problem to solve. We love a good moment where we can crack the case, so to speak. So you might as well get into that inquiry. And the more that you do, the more things start coming together and the more that you find meaning within the meaning of this life. And so this summer, with all the different transits that are happening and the ways that the outside world is shifting and changing over again and again and again, it would be a disservice for you to ignore the path of your Dharma. It would be a really big misstep to continue to focus on why it's not working out. Or further, thinking you're going to get some kind of cosmic handout. Another issue in astrology. Oh, this transit's going to change everything. Yeah, it is. But do you believe it? Or are you hoping it will change everything? There's a huge difference between those two things. So my intention for this episode is for us to see the pathway of the blue moon and use that as leverage for you to see the pathway of what's available for you going forward.
Welcome to the show. Danielle Mercury. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
All right, let's get a little bit deeper into the cosmic sphere, shall we? So, May 1st, we had a full moon in Scorpio. We ended the month on May 31st with a full moon in Sagittarius. Now, this full moon in Sagittarius is all about thinking outside the box, philosophy, higher consciousness. It's very connected to the aspects of Jupiter, which is we are here to expand. Part of the human experience is to go beyond the human experience. That's really what this full moon was, and the fact that it was happening coinciding with the blue moon shows us that's the priority. Because a blue moon only happens once in a while, this reminder of you gotta lean into your superhuman powers. You've gotta expand what you know to be true. You gotta go for it. That only happens every now and then. We're only given this reminder in this really big way from the cosmos every couple years. So we want to take that seriously, and we want to look at that and say, okay, what if I'm delusional in thinking that everything works for me? What if I do want the best case scenario? Because you're a good person with a good heart. I know that. You're not here to take advantage of the world. You're just here to live out your purpose. So let's do that. And one of the things, like I said earlier, is around releasing the old programming that is diluting your perception of what's possible. Many of us were raised to prepare for the worst. Prepare for the worst. No, you can't do that. No, I just want to protect you. No, you need to play it safe. It's okay to settle here. Why don't you do that? That's the logical thing to do. That follows our timeline. And how great for the bigger powers that be, for the people that are in control. Oh, the people in control gave us a very controlling narrative where we're always having to make sure that we are preparing for the worst, that we're always wired to think first what could go wrong, as opposed to what would it look like if we had people in charge that wired our brains to always prepare for the best, to always look at the possibility, to always recognize and honor the bright side. We would be living in a completely different society, wouldn't we? So if you want to know, when we talk about the age of Aquarius, when we talk about the new earth, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the reversal, the simple reversal of being a society that prepares for the worst, and look where that's gotten us, to shifting into a society that prepares for the best. But in order for that to happen, it starts with the individual. As the individual starts to realize, wait a minute, I have power, I have control, I have discernment, I have the ability to design my life. This is when, in the tarot journey, the fool all of a sudden becomes the magician and is holding the wand. It's like, wait a minute, I'm conducting this. How about that? And as more individuals, and this is where technology is really helping us, we start to spread the word. We start to advocate for ourselves. We start to say, wait a minute, I'm in charge here. And as we do that, guess what? The higher power, the higher ups that are controlling the narrative of making everything worse for us, they start to lose their power. They begin to dilute. They begin to dissolve. They begin to fade out. We're like, the gig is up. We see the wizard is behind the curtain here. And we're seeing that more and more and more. All my conspiracy theory friends. I am you. I don't wear a tinfoil hat. Mine's gold. Just FYI. But all that to say, it's like, wait a minute. All these things that we thought were protecting us in so many ways aren't. So the gig is up. I'm going to redesign this on my terms. I'm going to protect myself. So that's what we're seeing right now. It starts with the individual, which is totally what kind of kicked off with the Aquarian age in 2012. I am the guru. I am in charge. I don't need you to tell me what to do. And so as we do that more and more and more, as more people rally and advocate for themselves, we're going to start to see the power shifts. However, guess what? The people on the other side, the energetics on the other side that have been controlling us and wanting us to be in worst case scenarios, they're clearly not going to love that. So they're going to fight harder. So what's going to happen right now, and we're going to see this basically leading up to the end of 2028, which is a very key date, which I'll get to. What we're going to continue to see is this power struggle between the world and the individual. And the world is going to seem like it's getting worse, that it's getting more chaotic, that we're never going to get a break. But stick with that, because that's its own apocalypse. Why can't I say that word? Apocalypse. That's its own, like, tragedy. That's its own legacy. The powers that be that failed. Ooh, that's how they're going down. But they're not going down without a fight. That's fine. So again, when you see the outside world looking messy, recognize that it's having its tower moment. Let it all fall apart. And it's actually saying, hey, by the way, the individual is actually doing a really good thing here. And then the individual is going to start helping other people within their network, within their community, and so on and so forth. And yeah, there's going to be some bad seeds, some bad eggs, some, blah, 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 blah. But like one thing at a time. Again, this is very messy. Like we look at the past 50 years, the past 100 years, and we've made we haven't really created a great society. And I say that with love and compassion because there's lots of good things too. Like I was talking to a friend the other day at lunch and I was like, as much as this world is like crazy and kooky and I'm like, why am I here? I would be sad to leave it. Like I'd be like if they're like, okay, Danielle, we'll like transfer you to another dimension. I'd be like, oh, well, there's some things I would miss, like, I'm not ready to go. Oh, that's interesting. So that means it's not so bad, right? Because if it was like so bad, you'd be like, meh. But there are gems within this kooky society that was created. The kooky society is not sustainable, and it's definitely not sustainable with the cosmic energetics. When we look at it from that perspective, the patterning is saying there's got to be a power switch, right? And so as we switch over the power, once again, it's going to seem more bizarro in the outside world. It's going to seem more abstract. It's going to seem more ridiculous because it kind of has to be. So it's like we want to be mindful of that while still focusing on our own uniqueness, our own individual power, our own ability to have a say. I mean, look at the ways that entrepreneurship and things of that nature have come online. Look at the ways that we are investing in therapy and self-help. And like all of my healers out there that have been like on this train for so long, I see you and I'm with you. Do not give up now because look, it's more popular than it's ever been. So for anyone that's doubting their gifts, anyone that's doubting their abilities as healers, anyone that's doubting, can I make it as someone that plays in the metaphysical world? Absolutely. I mean, I was literally watching a show last night and there was a commercial for Tinder. And not only does Tinder have like an astrology match feature, they were like showing some girl like astral traveling in her apartment. And I'm like, oh my God, like this would never happen before. But they were like showing it not as a joke. They were like showing it as like, this is how some people live their lives. And so our reality is shifting. And sometimes we just have to take a step back and reflect on that and then also use that as major leverage to understand what's possible. Again, that's what this blue moon was all about. Of course, I love to look at patterns and connect the dots with these moons. So the last time that we had a blue full moon was August 31st of 2023. It was happening in Pisces. So I want you to think back almost 3 years ago. What was going on in your life? Is there a theme that has literally still kind of been churning and running on the background since that point? And does it feel finally complete? I know for me, there was a huge reoccurring theme that was going on that developed with that full moon in Pisces, that it was something that I just like, it was a relationship. Let's just say that. A relationship. And still running in the background 3 years later, ins and outs, ups and downs. Definitely more this past year was the more mild with it. Like it's really not that existent, but still kind of peppered in here and there. And it's so interesting. This past week I just had a moment where it was like I just felt so beyond it. Like I was just like, wow, like this doesn't even feel like it's part of my life anymore, when it was so at the forefront for me. And of course, yeah, it's like finally done. It only took once in a blue moon for me to finally release this, right? So I want you to think back, okay? August 31st, 2023 to now. And there doesn't have to be something that linear per se, but just, play around a little bit with what comes through. And then our next one will be December 31st, okay? New Year's Eve, friends. Oh my gosh, they're going to go crazy on the TikTok over this. December 31st, 2028. Oh, like, come on. I feel like I don't even have to say anything else. The next blue moon is December 31st, 2028, when we click over into 2029. And here's the interesting thing with blue moons, because blue moons, they are at the mercy of the calendar year that we decided. But this one happening in Sagittarius, and we know, Sagittarius is kind of like the rebel. Aquarius is our biggest rebel of the zodiac, but Sagittarius is too, but it does it in a very like jolly way. Like it does it in a very like almost like, whoa, I didn't even realize that was rebellion, but you put it like it's like rebellion with a bow, or like in a shiny box, so to speak. All that to say, we are looking at it from the space of our calendar year that we decided upon, and that's fine because this is the society we live in. So we're going to use this calendar, so to speak. So anyway, the next blue moon will be December 31st, 2028. That is supposedly, I mean, who knows what can happen, an election year. So we'll be moving into 2029 with something else in charge. When I say something else, it could be an alien. Who knows? And so why I say this in this way, though, where we are now in 2026, leading up to the end of 2028, is really where all these changes that we've been talking about, all these power struggles, all these shifts in dynamics are really going to come to a head. 2029 is the actualization and the next steps and the building forward of everything that happens over this next year and a half, so to speak, or 2.5 years, give or take. So 2029 is really part of a new framework, a new paradigm that we don't have full understanding of yet. Same with the 2030s. What's interesting is when I talk to a lot of my intuitive friends, we get really clear downloads around what will happen in the 2040s and the 2060s. It's the 30s and the 50s that are a little bit vague. So it's interesting how that happens in that way. All that to say, here are some interesting things that are happening with it. So we look at this current blue moon. What is it asking? Be the best version of you that believes that everything is possible. That's simple. Releasing old programming that says you can't. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. Play it safe. Play it safe. Prepare for the worst. No, we're over that. You'll be fine. So then we move into the summer. This summer, we have Jupiter moving into Leo. So we're getting some nice fire energy with Jupiter. Jupiter's our planet of expansion. It's been hanging out in Cancer, which has been really making us sit with our emotions and really asking ourselves, how do I feel? Like really, how do I feel about this situation? How do I feel about what I said yes to? How do I feel about this person I'm with? How do I feel about this job? And do I want to change it? That's really what this next month is about. Any like tying up of things that you're not fully vocalizing when it comes to things that you've been holding on to that feel obvious at this point. Then Jupiter will move into Leo. Then we're going to have a really big boom. The nodes are going to shift. So we have the North Node and the South Node. South Node is about, when we look at it from a collective perspective, karma, things that we're unpacking, things that we are overcoming. North Node is destiny, impact, legacy, things that we will be known for within that period of time. They're going to be moving into Aquarius and Leo. Okay. We are in the age of Aquarius. Pluto is in Aquarius. We will be showcasing the 250th birthday, if you will, solar return of when the United States was formed. And one thing I will say about the United States, I have so many mixed opinions around what actually went down in the 1700s and why the United States was created in the way that it was. And I say this from the space of like colonization and the ways that things went down were not great. But I don't think the founding fathers and females, because they were there, completely wanted to create a controlling society. They were leaving a controlling society. They wanted to create their own. And they created a document almost 250 years ago called the Declaration of Independence while Pluto was in Aquarius. The Declaration of Independence. It said, we want freedom. And we have been questioning that declaration for the last 250 years. What's in it? What's not? I watch enough Law and Order to be like, what is real? What isn't? But really what it comes down to is freedom for the individual and people that want to be in charge manipulating that as much as they can. And so I see this as a reclamation of freedom. And the true, again, I say this with grace and compassion, but the true essence of why the United States was formed. And it was formed for freedom and it was formed for independence. So that is going to be a big theme that comes with that. And who knows, maybe there was, I keep hearing, like, my guys keep saying, talk about the aliens, but like that wasn't really part of this conversation. I think the aliens were around then. I mean, they're always around. Everyone's around. I mean, your past lives are around. Your grandma is sitting over there in the corner that passed away supposedly 10 years ago. So the aliens, they will make themselves known because the technology is ripe for us to be able to. Our awareness of what's possible is also more. Think about it from that space too. If we're leaving behind true scarcity and preparing for the worst, and you believe that everything is possible and everything's going to be okay and everything is actually wired to be better, then the aliens are like, cool, that's our welcome mat. Let's make ourselves known. So that's kind of how I see it. I don't know if it will be like because here's the thing also, many of us have alien DNA. Like, again, they've been around. There have been people and tribes and moments in time where they made themselves known to other individuals, because I really don't believe we're the smartest iteration on this earth of people that have lived. And so I think in smarter iterations, they made themselves known. And look, feelings are feelings. Things probably got spicy. And so I do think many of us have alien DNA within us already, especially those of us that have more heightened intuition or even have, chronic conditions or health conditions or have trouble, assimilating with typical humans. So I do think there's going to be more of that attention coming to light in that way. But more than anything, I just think the emphasis is around individual power and reclaiming that Declaration of Freedom. And I think July is going to be really, really big within that stance. And then we're going to move into eclipses, and we're going to move into a new eclipse series as well. That's going to now put the eclipses in the Aquarian Leo seed. So a lot of times the eclipses will coincide with the nodes. And that's to really foster that change. Again, when the nodes shift, and they shift every 18 months within our collective, within your chart as well. So some of you may be shifting into your nodal return. The nodal return is to really elevate power and really position yourself in alignment with what you came here for, and to really create another level of imprint within the legacy that you're cultivating. So we're going to be doing that on a collective level. Why the eclipses coincide with that? What do eclipses do? Change, acceleration, heightened ability to see, feel, witness, do, to step away, to leave, major release, big aha moments. So it's no surprise that nodes and eclipses come together in the ways that they do. So now we're going to have the nodes and eclipses switching over. We have Jupiter also hanging out in that party with Leo. So we have Pluto in Aquarius, Leo is hanging out with Jupiter. Now we have the nodes and the eclipses in Aquarius and Leo. Like, Come on. Like, this is your time to literally just like fucking go for it. Why not? You might as well let it work out. And I say that as someone who, I think it's a surprise to a lot of people, holds a lot of restraint within her. And it's because of my upbringing, because of always being told, you can't do that, don't aim too high, you'll never get picked, the chances are low, blah, 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 blah. I have a big wound that I have around going bigger is I will be humiliated, not because I failed, but because I went for it. I was mocked whenever I actually went for something that I wanted to do, even if it was successful. It became a joke. It became something to laugh at. Even if there was success, I was still kind of my success was highlighted as foolish. And so I would feel this weird merger of pride and joy and accomplishment within my own self. But then when I would go to people that raised me, I was met with humiliation and defeat. And so I get it. I get that, like, it's a very strange position to be in, to like have dreams and see them start to work out and see them start to come online and let it all happen. And then at the same time have that like lingering, what if I'm not sure? But the more that the more that I heal and look at these things, and leave them behind, because that's an old programming that I'm no longer consenting to, because again, it just dilutes my power. The more I just see how it all, like, if I'm sure of it, then so is the universe and so is the world, and it becomes a sure thing. The more that I'm sure of something, the more it assures it working out, the more it becomes a sure thing. We love that. So really, we're going to see in the second half of 2026 is just this continued progression of advocation. But again, who's not going to like that? The outside world. And what happens within that? So a side effect of what's going on with Neptune and Saturn that are hanging out in Aries is war. So Saturn and Neptune hanging out in Aries, for you, the individual, beautiful. Chef's kiss. We love that. It's going to give you the energy and the innovation to move things forward. To the world, though, they don't want that. So what's it going to create? Friction. What does friction create? War. Mars is very connected to Aryan energy. And so we're going to see wars. And again, I don't want to like bypass the hurt and the harm that comes from these things. And at the same time, it's just like everything has gotten so knotted up and so wrangled that it has to stop. And sometimes it just has to get so loud. But in the meantime, it's like you play your own music. You dance to your own tune. You trust that you're safe and you're okay. And there's a reason why you're where you are. And please don't feel guilty about it. Just keep moving forward, because it is going to seem like it's just going to get crazier out there. But honestly, that's when you seek sanity within your own sanctuary. And so as we see that continue to play out in 2026, then 2027 is just going to be another continuation of that. We're just going to like keep refining this individuality. We're going to keep finding ways to recognize what is right. We are going to continue to rally for the truth. And the higher powers will have no choice but to start to shift gears. I'm not saying they're just going to surrender and raise their white flag, but they're going to recognize that maybe the plan they had in mind, we're on to it. So they're going to have to shift gears. I have a feeling they're going to kind of like tuck their tail behind their legs or between their legs or whatever people say and scurry off and re-strategize. But while they're doing that, great, we'll just get more powerful. So then that brings us to 2028, and we're going to see Saturn shift into Taurus, which is more grounded, rooted energy. I do think that's where we're going to start to see changes within our economy. We might even see the turning of the dollar. We might see currency as we know it shift into another vehicle. 2028 is also a leap year. Okay. And that's probably what attributes to us being able to have the blue moon that we're having on New Year's Eve, 2028. So that's something that we want to keep in mind as well. Within that the 2027, Jupiter shifting into Virgo. Again, morality and responsibility is going to be a big theme for 2027. If this person is not a good person, we don't want them in charge. I mean, I know things like the Epstein files and whatnot have been lingering. I mean, I've been watching that thing for so long. Again, when I'm wearing my gold foil hat. I think there's going to be a point where we're finally going to be like, oh shit. It's crazy to me that people still don't get it, but it's like, we need good people in power. Yeah. And that's what we're going to start to see in 2027. It's going to be more about responsibility, morality, and like good freaking people. And then 2028, we're going to see Jupiter move into Libra. Justice, my friends. It's going to move in August of 2028, so right before the election. Again, and things could change. We might be like, F it. We're not doing an election in this way anymore. We're going back to, we're reworking the Constitution. We're reworking what it means to be a society. Again, that feels a little extreme. I don't know if we'll quite get there. I mean, time is moving faster. Things are accelerating. I don't know if we'll quite get to that point per se, but it is interesting that Jupiter, higher consciousness, expansion, is moving into Libra, justice, the scales, mediation, right before the election, like literally like 2.5 months prior, if there is an election or whatever that might look like. And then we will also be in 2028 completing the Leo, Aquarius, eclipse, North Node journey. And they're going to be moving into Capricorn and Cancer. So I didn't tell you one thing about the blue moon that's happening on December 31st. Not only is it a blue moon, it's a lunar eclipse, my friends. So we are ending 2028 with a freaking lunar eclipse. It's happening in Cancer at 10 degrees. Earlier that month, we'll be having a full moon in Gemini. So December 2nd of 2028, there'll be a full moon in Gemini at 10 degrees. So that'll be in Sagittarius season. We kick off with the Gemini full moon 10 degrees. We end with full moon in Cancer, lunar eclipse, baby, also 10 degrees. 10. We know about 10 a little bit from this year, 2026, because it's a 10-year/1 year. 10 in the tarot, completion. Completion. Interesting, right? We'll also be in a 3-year, which is kind of like this like energy of all for one and one for all, numerology-wise. So that's also kind of a interesting thing. And that's why I feel like 2029 is a force foundation, grounding, home, rebuilding. I definitely think that's what 2029 is going to be, Saturn and Taurus. Now that the nodes and the eclipses are going to be Capricorn, Cancer, again, it's all about like, what does power look like in the new age, in the new earth, in when the individual actually has more power than the collective that was trying to control us, which is very Aquarian coded. It makes me very, very happy. So that's the essence of all of this. So we literally had this blue moon that will hook into another blue moon, December 31st, 2028, lunar eclipse, clicking into 2029 after our nation's 250th birthday, after the nodes and the eclipses go to Aquarius, Leo, after Jupiter journeying into Leo as well, then Virgo, then Libra, Saturn making a shift into Taurus. Oh, it's just like the election year, the leap year. There's a reason why astrology, I believe, is really taking charge right now, and I think that was part of the Aquarian age, but it was part of to gain individual power, but it was also to then make us see what's happening collectively so we could use that as leverage accordingly, because this stuff is just coinciding in such a brilliant way, especially in the ways that Pluto and Aquarius is continuing to shape up for us. So the big takeaway from this is, once again, what old programming is still diluting your perception of what's possible? Because that's what needs to be eradicated. That is not going to be necessary over these next 2.5 years. What's going to be necessary is you advocating for yourself, knowing that you don't have to do this on your own, but you do have to do this. And like, notice where you're scrolling. Notice where you're watching misguided spiritual fluff. Notice where you're letting too much of the bigger narrative scare you. I promise you that you're going to be okay. I promise you that there's a reason that you're here. And I promise you that the more attention you place on your why, on being supported, the more you can be assured of what will be a sure thing of what it is that you're actually here to do going forward. Share this out to those that you have the best cosmic connection with. Let me know how this resonates. And I adore you. Okay, real talk. When we're not geeking out over the cosmos, we need to move our bodies. Even Mercury retrograde can't be your excuse forever. I've been using ClassPass for years across multiple cities because, as you know, I don't exactly stay in one place, and neither does my fitness routine. So with no recurring fees, no being locked into one studio, no surprise charges, just flexibility, I think that ClassPass knows my love language. And it's a lifesaver when you travel. You open the app, you find a class near you, done. No excuses, no, I couldn't find a gym energy. When you sign up through the link in the show notes, you get 20 free credits to start. That's your first few classes on May. Well, technically on ClassPass, but you know what I mean. Link is in the show notes. Go get your credits, go move your bodies, listen to this podcast while you work out, and the stars will still be here when you get back.